Hi folks, and welcome to Shit Happens. In today's episode, I want to talk about foods that I couldn't stand eating when I was a kid, but I love now. I mean, there's a handful of foods that I really didn't care for growing up that I still can't stomach today, like liver and onions, boiled beets, lima beans, and pineapple on pizza. I'm just not going to touch any of that. Maybe I'm goofy. But in today's episode, I want to talk about the things that I do like now that would have given me a fit of the dry heaves when I was a kid. Take, for example, eggs. Now, I loved eggs when I was a kid. I love eggs now in a variety of ways cooked. But one particular way I could not stand eggs was being pickled. It was one of my dad's favorite snacks, and he always tried to get us kids to eat one. And to me, they were some of the grossest things ever made. But fast forward to today, and I won't pass up a pickled egg. I love them, unless they're done in beet juice. Another thing I couldn't stand as a kid was pork rinds or pork cracklings, whatever you want to call them. You couldn't cram them down my throat without me gagging. They were a horrible snack. But fast forward to today, and I can't pass them up. Whenever you go grocery shopping, I'll get 2 or 3 bags of them. Doesn't matter what flavor there are. I just love them. But I couldn't stand them as a kid. These Austrian pine are pretty, and they stay green all the way through the winter. And speaking of green, one thing I absolutely could not stomach or stand or even want to smell was asparagus. It took me many years to get up the gumption to try it again. And then when I finally did, probably in my mid-20s, I was in heaven. I love asparagus. It could be sauteed in butter, steamed with a hollandaise or béarnaise sauce, or my favorite, wrapping them in bacon and cooking them on the grill. Of course, anything's good wrapped in bacon, cooked on the grill. And right along with asparagus is Brussels sprouts. Same thing. You couldn't get me near them as a kid, and I absolutely love them now. In much with the way of asparagus, they can be steamed, sauteed, they can be cooked about any way. And I absolutely love them. Oh, and Capper Joe, if you're watching this, Branson come out with a beautiful looking tractor. Top of the line, better than anything they've ever made before. This is what they're calling it. And since we're talking about food, I thought I'd share this. This past weekend, the grandkids were out, and one of my granddaughters, Chloe, hi Chloe, it's Gramps, put together this little meal for the birds on a 5-gallon bucket. Still sitting here. She's offering up empty shotgun shell casings, a piece of wood, some twigs, a couple rocks, even a feather. I wonder what the birds are going to think about that. Maybe add a little salt and pepper. Earlier I mentioned not being able to stand pineapple on pizza. I just don't think they belong together. I mean, in my mind, it's like putting ketchup on ice cream. But one thing I couldn't stand as a kid was anchovies. I didn't even know what an anchovy was, but I could smell it and I didn't want anything to do with it. But fast forward to today, and I love anchovies on pizza. Unfortunately, only about 1 out of every 100 places that offer pizza offer anchovies. It sucks. And speaking of anchovies, sardines was another thing I couldn't stand to eat as a kid. I love them now. I don't care what kind of sauce they're in. As long as I have some crackers with them, I can eat them all day long. And I think they're healthy for you. I think. Now this is a borderline one. Meatloaf. Couldn't stand it as a kid. In my 20s, 30s, but in my early 40s, my sister made one on the campfire when we had a 3-day excursion camping. That wasn't too bad. So that might be something I got to experiment with. Now maybe if I can make a meatloaf with some anchovies and asparagus and Brussels sprouts, I might be onto something. And that might hit my list of things that I love now. That might be a video down the road. And before I forget, I'd like to give a shout out to a small YouTuber called M Langford. I've been following his channel for about a month now. He's building a teardrop camper from scratch. I love watching the updates on that. If you get a minute, check him out, and I'll leave his link in the description below. One of the last things that I want to talk about here with things that I hated as a kid as far as food that I love now is eggnog. You couldn't get me near that as a young kid. But over the last 20 years, during the holiday season, I'll go through 2-3 gallons of it. And that's without alcohol in it. I just love the flavor of it. Thanks for joining me here today on Shit Happens. If you enjoyed this video, please share it with some others. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. And if you have any comments to share below on foods you absolutely couldn't stand when you were a kid that you love now, I'd love to hear about it. Leave some comments.